And welcome in, everybody. Summit City Sports Report number 39 on the season. This is our roundtable. We just finished up the second round of sectionals.
And up next is the Sectional Championships this Friday. Oh, boy, and we are all over the place. Let's start off. My name is Jeff Mahoney. We got Tim Atkinson, as always, Hunter Sosemheimer, and Thad Goff in the house with us. We'll start off with my game. East Noble 21, Leo 0. The first time East Noble shut out Leo since 2020. I believe they hit a sectional championship that year. We'll check it out for you real quick. Yeah, that was a sectional championship game before losing to Marion. But great game, kind of went as we kind of thought it would. I'm not so sure that we thought that Leo would be scoreless in that game. But, yeah, the East Noble defense just hitting on all cylinders. And Riley Biddle, an outstanding game. So we'll pull up his stats. Had the 2 rushing touchdowns. Obviously, those were in goal line situations, following the lead block of Dylan Krell. And then had a beautiful touchdown pass, a 24-yarder to Mason Trish. Man, the more I see these guys, just really impressed with the athleticism and the skill in that defensive backfield. Trish is one of those guys. And then right there getting behind the defender. That was the single progression right there for Biddle. So he was just waiting for him to get behind the defender and fired the strike. Biddle had an interception, his first of the season in that game. Trish had an interception. And Anthony Mitchner also had an interception. So it's the second time that East Nobles played Leo and has recorded 3 interceptions. So Biddle, we noticed that in the Columbia City game that they'll put him back at safety in these big-time matchups. So you could probably expect to see number 1 in the defensive backfield this Friday against Dwenger. As Dwenger, I think we're all thinking they'll prove to be the toughest opponent that East Noble's seen since the week 2 matchup versus Snyder, the way that Bishop Dwenger has been progressing this season. Looking at Leo, another great game by Nathan Foster, averaging 8.1 yards per carry. So I thought it was kind of interesting that Foster and Krell, once again, they lead the NE8 in average yards per rushing. Both of them were fantastic in this game. Krell, to be honest with you, was really grinding it out against that Leo front 7, which we know with Brett Sauter, the sophomore linebacker, one of the better sophomore linebackers that you're going to find in the northern part of the state. And then that defensive line is just nasty with Tristan Roberts and Brock Schott. Brock had 2 sacks, I believe, in that game. One of them was a devastating sack. We had 2 tackles for a loss, 9 tackles. And they give him 1.5 sacks because he and Tristan Roberts combined on one of those sacks. So great game by Brock. I mean, he was playing his heart out there. And also, we did see a little bit of Landon Hepner at the Wildcat. You can see 5 carries for 25 yards. I'll tell you what, guys, it's something else when you see Hepner and Schott in the backfield. I mean, those are 2 big boys. But it was a good win for East Noble, once again, holding Leo scoreless. And, yeah, let me open it up to the rest of you guys about that game. Any questions on that one, Tim?
Yeah, Dylan Krell went out with an injury, Jeff. What did that look like to you?
Oh, that was the week before. I did not see that in the Leo game. No, Krell looked 100%. And like I said, see, there was times when they took Alex Brennan off the field, Alex Brennan, the tight end for East Noble, and they brought in an extra receiver. And that didn't really seem to work out very well for East Noble because, boy, Roberts and Schott and those guys were in the backfield like that. So it made it really, really hard on Riley Biddle. But with Brennan back there to help with the blocking, he was able to get into his groove, and that offense did as well.
So Krell didn't look like he had any, lingering effects from that injury a week ago?
Not at all. No, I think it was just a little bit of a ankle sprain. But, I mean, he's a gamer. And he looked great in that game. Once again, though, I think it's hard for anybody to run the ball against that Leo defense. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And what does the East Noble offensive line average in weight? So that's Zach Welklin chiming in as always. Zach, we appreciate you, buddy. Huge supporter of Summit City Sports. And let me pull this up. Leo averaged 229 a man across the offensive line. A lot of that had to do with Hayden Roberts being inserted at left guard. The previous guard was at 260. Roberts goes 210. And I'm telling you guys, Hayden Roberts, only a junior, looks really good on the offensive and defensive line. And looking at East Noble, they averaged 259 pounds a man across the offensive line. James Miller goes 6'1", 260. The left guard is regarded by many as the best offensive lineman over there at East Noble. So thank you, Zach, for chiming in with that. And yeah, Gavin Sparkman here, this a relentless motor at nose tackle.
Yeah.
Had a great game, made it extremely hard on Grayson Escara and the Leo offense.
Yeah, once again, it's just East Noble. Anybody putting in front of them, they're just taking them down. I mean, they do what it takes to win, whether it be running for 250 or it's with Biddle and throwing 3 or 4 touchdowns or getting 3 interceptions. I mean, we've talked about it since the Leo game. It's probably the most complete team we've seen in this area. Of course, taking away the Lawrence North and Warren Central teams that we saw earlier in the season, but my goodness, I'm talking about just whatever it takes to win. It seems like East Noble and Coach Stewart have the right recipe each and every week.
Yeah, and Tim, I posted this last week before one of our interviews, but East Noble, since that win against Leo the first time, they're outscoring their opponents. It's something like 290 to 28. So, and if you look at their stats, and their stats are very good, but you also have to consider that in these 2 games right here, the starters were being taken out halfway through the second quarter.
Right.
So just something to keep in mind. Biddle completing 50% of his passes, 5 of 10. Not all of them were perfect, but boy, that strike to Mason Trish, you just don't see many quarterbacks that can throw the ball on a rope like he did on that 24-yard touchdown.
Yeah, he's up pretty good. There's no doubt about it. Only a junior and, playing some defensive side of the ball too. I know you like what you saw with him on the defensive side of things. Be interesting to see what happens this Friday in that sectional championship, which we'll talk about here soon. But I'm telling you that East Noble squad is one of the most complete teams. And I'll say it over and over to anybody that I talk to. I just talked to the athletic director for Dwanger about making sure, we're all set for this Friday in the broadcast. And he asked, and I said, they are the most complete. They don't seem to have any weaknesses at all. They can throw it. They can run it. They can block. They can get after the quarterback, tackles for losses, outstanding linebacking core. And we've seen what the defensive backfield has done for East Noble with just, ball hawking back there. So, East Noble is absolutely legit for the people out there that have not seen them live. You'll get to see them this Friday. And they are an absolute juggernaut on both sides of the football.
Yeah, and to Tim's point right here, fellas, 24 interceptions on the season.
Right.
How many times do you see this where you have 2 guys with 6 or more? In Alexander Scott, Mason Trish has 7, Scott 6, Logan Hatton has 4, who's arguably their best defender, and Mitchner with 2, Anderson with 2, Kobe Ritchie, who's a linebacker, with 2, and Zach Welklin asked, is East Noble a senior dominant team? I think so, Zach, because a lot of these kids started as sophomores when the team went 5-6, so they had a nasty taste in their mouth 2 years ago. But let's look at it, just from the leading tacklers, let's say. You got Senior and Krell, Hatton's a senior, Sparkman's a senior, Ritchie, Ramey, Agee. They have very good players that are younger ages, but Trace Kane, a senior, Dallas Plattner, Alex Brennan. So very much so, this team is led by its seniors.
And then the junior-led quarterback and Riley Biddle.
And Mason Trish, their leading receiver. Both of those guys are juniors. Biddle's a wrestler. Trish is a basketball player for Brandon Drenell.
Yep.
All right. Well, we're going to move over to the Bishop Dwanger game where they took on Wayne. That was over at Wayne. A unique situation there where these two teams did not meet in the regular season. 25-6 was your final score. I think we thought it would be around that. But Tim, what did you see in this game?
Well, first of all, it was run, and more run. I mean, combined on the game, -6 passing yards. Nick O'Keefe only threw it one time. That was incomplete. He did have a couple of sacks in that first quarter that they were trying to run him out on a keeper had nowhere to go. But it was running the ball. Gus Tittman had an outstanding game running at 123 yards and a touchdown. But when they go, they that lightning and thunder type of backfield with him and AJ Shefferly, Shefferly with those lead blocks, and when he's not lead blocking, getting those lead dives. You know, I've talked about it so much over the past several weeks. It is so hard to stop up the middle with Shefferly as a fullback and getting those lead dives. Nick O'Keefe once again did a really good job of controlling the pace of the game. In that second half, they're up. And he's taken that play clock down to 3 and 2 almost every single snap. It's very rare to see a sophomore quarterback, and not even a sophomore quarterback that did not start the year as the quarterback. He's replacing the injured Jordan in at quarterback. So it was very impressive to see what he could do, not throwing the ball, but he can run a little bit. Like I said, the yardage went down on him on Friday because of those couple of sacks that were pretty large sacks. But come out in that I formation. They come out with a double H back and a deep back. So now you have two more big boy blockers up top. They're adding in Jordan Fabini in the mix on that. Knipscher, Dougie Henry. Their backfield is absolutely loaded, Jeff, with going quick with Tittman or going real tough with Dougie, Knipscher, and Shefferly. It is so, and Fabini now as well. They are so big and so strong running that ball. Wayne was loading the box every play. And when I say loading the box, I'm talking 10. Dwenger would have a one wide out most of the time. So they'd have a DB covering the one wide out. Everyone else in the box, I'm talking 5 to 6 yards from the line of scrimmage. And Dwenger still had their way running the ball against that Kamar-led defense. Now, Kamar still got his numbers. I think he had 12 tackles or so, but here's the little squirt by from Gus Tittman. Fooled our camera guy, Joel Ray, even. It fooled me on the call. He's so little. He gets lost in that traffic right there. And his quickness, though, to break it out was so impressive. The other thing I thought was impressive about his running ability is on his following blocks. He is very patient following blocks. He'll let that play develop on some of these sweeps. And he really lets the blockers in the lane. This is a perfect example of it right here. There's a little patient, and then a little burst. He's very, very, very good, very talented running back, and just a junior as well. They're playing a lot of juniors is Dwenger. And then, of course, on the defensive side of the ball for the Saints, just absolute madmen. It was the same thing we've seen in the last 5 to 6 weeks, with just absolutely going after the ball carriers. Kamar Nelson had some decent running, Stallings a little bit, but the only running came from Harold Mack on his scrambling, as you see right here. I mean, they're just outstanding going after the football. What we talked about last week and those outside linebackers and the Ranger for Dwenger of avoiding those blocks on the pulls and still getting that tackle for loss. I saw it a handful of times. Look how they avoid the block. It's just amazing. And that was Cooper Campbell, the sophomore, led on that tackle. But, Kamar Nelson did a fine job. He looked healthy-ish. But only 17 yards rushing. He could not get going at all rushing the ball. Either could Stallings. Jacob Sharon broke one of the jet sweeps out. But other than that, the Wayne offense could not do hardly anything. You see Campbell coming off the edge once again. That was Ellinger, Ellinger coming off the edge that time. That outside linebacking core is so difficult to prepare for and to deal with in the running game. And if you cannot throw it consistently, Dwenger is going to blow you up in the backfield, and it happened all game long. Besides that Sharon jet sweep, it was Harold Mack. Harold Mack was the one that it was in the end of the second quarter when they got their first score. It was Yep. Here's Sharon on that reverse kind of jet sweep, breaking out into some space finally, gave Wayne some life. That ended up being a score, I believe, in that drive, but that was back-to-back Harold Mack plays after that Sharon run to really give life to Wayne. They were getting the ball in the third quarter to start the game, but this is what Harold Mack can do. You know, it's a little blown play there. He expected a play action right here, but this is what he can do. I mean, that out in space, you're not tackling Harold Mack one-on-one very often. He is special. And then they had him on I think it was the very next play, or maybe the plays after that. This is where they had him dead to rights. You know, Dwenger normally comes up with this sack right here. Could not pull him down. And then once he gets the edge and sniffs that pylon, it's touchdown city for Harold Mack. He was the best player on the field for Wayne. No question about it on offense. Defensively, of course, Kamar getting in the backfield, really disrupting some things, but Dwenger just had too much rush. 12 total tackles for Kamar. Jaden Bushy played a nice game. So did Quentin Thomas and Lanise Martin. Lanise Martin, I said it quite a bit. Bravion Query, but they had a lot of opportunities at tackles, Jeff, because Dwenger just kept running the ball at them. I mean, it was outstanding to see. A team that knows what they want to do and what they're good at, and you cannot stop them. You could not stop them at all. It was very impressive to see. Of course, Lucas Wynn got another field goal, 11-11 now on the season. I think it was it might have been a 40-yarder, 36-yarder, something to that
40.
effect. 40-yarder. Devin Brock there as the snapper, and Getty as the holder. And look at that. I mean, that's good from 50 at least, maybe 55. This kid is just a junior, 11-11 now.
Yeah, that was okay. Yeah, the ball is at the 24-yard line. Yep.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I always go from the holder and go 10 from the holder. Yep. So 40-yard kick. And that was absolutely drilled in the cold. It was chilly. Wasn't too windy at game time. But Lucas Wynn, outstanding. And the other thing, once again, touchback cities. The kid just kicks it into the end zone almost all the time. And against a team like Wayne and those playmakers back there to return, I'm telling you what, being able to kick it in the end zone or kick it at the one or inside the one is absolutely tremendous to see. So difficult to deal with. That was the pass breakup to end the game there from Carter Zent. But not a lot of passing. Dwenger did not have to throw it at all. I mean, the one pass wasn't even really needed. They were just trying to mix it up. So it's going to be really, really tough game. East Noble has not seen this type of defense, I believe, since the Snyder defense in week 2. And I think right now the Dwenger defense, Hunter may have something to say about this, but the Dwenger defense is playing the best in the SAC that I've seen all year. They haven't been tested with the pass, with Columbia City being their opening game in sectionals, and then Wayne. Both teams that don't want to pass it if they don't have to. But I'm telling you what, this Bishop Dwenger defense, they could beat anyone if they could get a little bit of passing, which I think they'll need to do against East Noble. They could win that ball game against East Noble.
Pretty safe to say that the Saints kept it pretty vanilla on Friday night. Didn't want to show their hand too much. Sounds like they were trying to just eat up clock and let that play clock get down to 1 or 2 before the snap.
Yeah, I mean, they're so well coached, and you could see it throughout it. In the second half of that Columbia City game, they came out in the spread, and it went absolutely nowhere. We talked to Coach Garrett. They were just trying to show a different look against Columbia City. It didn't work. They went right back to it. But the other wrinkle I saw in Friday's game was having those 2 H-backs, 1 wide receiver, a tight end, 2 H-backs, and then sometimes they had Dougie Henry or AJ Shefferly as that running back, which good luck trying to stop all that force coming at you, blocking it. Here's the I formation when they give to Shefferly, and I mean, it's good night. He's a lacrosse player, a wrestler. The kid loves contact, and he's always falling forward just like Gus Tippmann does, but in a smaller version. But Shefferly is an absolute beast, and I don't think East Noble's been able to see anybody like that on that lead back. That's so tough to see. It's like having a Brock Shot almost as your fullback and your lead dive. It's very impressive. And then, like I said, the 2 H-backs, it gives them some movement where they can roll around. And then O'Keefe, if he could just complete, he doesn't have to complete 8 passes a game. If he could get 4 to 5 in this East Noble game, I think they'll have a chance to beat one of the best teams in the state of Indiana that we've seen all year.
Yeah, most definitely. Hunter or Thad, did you guys have any questions about the Dwenger and Wayne game?
No, I think just the special teams is a big, big thing for Bishop Dwenger. Like, even seeing Lucas Wynn drill these field goals, 11 for 11 on the year. How does this kid not have a D1 offer yet? Like, I mean,
it's coming.
He's tremendous.
Yeah, it's a kicker. They always get offered later. With all the portals and stuff like that. Now he'll be on a Power 4 squad when it comes in 2 years. There's no doubt in my mind.
Well, and I know we're used to this from Dwenger, but how about Aaron Tippman with a 23 yards, 123 yards total, or 23 carries, 123 yards total? That's Gus Tippman.
Yep.
Sorry, I saw the A there and
that's for Augustus.
Oh, Augustus. Yeah, my bad. But either way, we're used to seeing this from Dwenger, but Dwenger once again impressive with their running game. Has that been the case with them all through the playoffs so far?
Yeah, I mean, Columbia City couldn't stop the run at all. Now Dwenger had shorter fields with those turnovers to start the ball game, back-to-back turnovers. So they had short distances to start there. I think the first one started on the 4-yard line. The other one was in the mid 20-ish yard line. So the opportunity for the big numbers weren't there. Wayne, to their credit, did a good job of controlling the ball. They didn't turn it over. I think they may have turned it over one time on the Mac interception. But other than that, they didn't turn the ball over. Wayne did not play poorly. Dwenger just outplayed them. They were just the better team this past Friday night. And you're right. I mean, if Gus Tippman gets over 100 yards and then you still have that offshoot of Knipscher, Pelkington, Shefferly, Fabini, I mean, that run game, there's a reason they don't have to throw the ball at that, is because that run game and then the healthy line. That's a big one, too. The healthy line. They'll bring in Casey Piper in as a tight end and Nick Tippman as a tight end as well. Good blockers. That run game for Dwenger, it's one of the best I've seen in a couple of years, with not having the threat of the pass game. There's no threat there, and they still do what they want to do on the ground. It's very impressive.
Let's move over to Hunter Sosemheimer, who was in Elkhart at Rice Field, capacity of 7,000. Snyder pulling off the big victory.
That is the wrong score.
Yeah, that is the wrong
14-7 final. Yeah,
14-7.
Ooh, I was gonna say, man, I didn't realize they scored that many points. Man, did I see a defensive battle on Friday?
They snuck them in while you were blinking, didn't they, Hunter?
The top 10 defenses in the state of Indiana, and man, were they on display on Friday night. The game started out 9 seconds into the contest. Brandon Logan had a pick 6, first play from scrimmage, and I'm sitting there in the press box, and I'm just like, whoa, I thought these were two of the top defenses in the state, and bang, Brandon Logan starts it off, pick 6 right away. And a key fact on that play, the starting quarterback for Elkhart, Quinn Rose, went out with a concussion on that play, was hit in the back there. I can't recall who the number was that took him out, but yeah, he went down, and the starting quarterback was out the rest of the game. So they had to go immediately to their backup quarterback in Trey Fiedel.
That was Fertil.
Yeah, Fertil. Yeah, he laid out Quinn Rose. So went out with a concussion on that play, and first play from scrimmage, like I said, 9 seconds into it, Brandon Logan gets that pick 6, and I'm sitting in the press box, and I'm just like, man, is Snyder just going to come out and run away with it? But no, we saw a defensive battle the rest of the game. A lot of big hits. Landon Fry, Adam Blakey. I tell you what, those two are probably two of the top defensive players I've seen in the state of Indiana. They are absolutely insane all over the place there in that contest on Friday night. That was the one score you just saw from Fidel. But you see this play right here. I want you guys to just watch Adam Blakey, what he does. He literally goes down right here, tries to make the tackle, gets back up, and shoots all the way back over there to the quarterback to help that out. And then Landon Fry just comes right in and lays the wood. It's tremendous what those two can do. getting into the backfield on almost every single play on Friday night. I called their name probably a gazillion times between those two. But they led the way defensively there for Snyder. In that second quarter, I believe it was maybe 2 plays later, Brandon Logan got injured on a punt return there. He came out after the punt return. It looked like he went down awkwardly. Tried to come out in the third quarter, was helped off by the trainers there. Came out after halftime, went on, played 2 plays, and hobbled off of the sideline, and he was on crutches the rest of the game. So hopefully everything's okay with him. I mean, I think they were just trying to keep him elevated to make sure like nothing too serious would happen. But yeah, Adam Blinky, Landon Fry, those 2 were tremendous on the defensive side of the ball. And then Marion Dye and Carmen Orozco for Elkhart were both tremendous defensively as well. But this hit right here is tremendous from Landon Fry. I want you guys to just watch this right here. He comes out of nowhere, bang. He's all over the field. Tremendous.
And that's a big quarterback right there. I mean, he kind of reminds you of Donovan Williams, New Haven's quarterback from a year ago. I mean, this guy does not go down easy.
Yeah. Landon Fry, I just tell you what, he can get all over the field. There was a play, the Vance to Davis right next to that play with the big hit. I want you guys to watch the block here from Landon Fry too as well.
Oh my!
Lays out the linebacker.
Pancake.
Big space there for Davis. It's tremendous to see what this kid can do on a football field.
Oh man, that is about the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
I saw that live, and I tell you what, man, it was nuts. Yeah, Landon Fry.
Oh.
Man.
How you know you got a linebacker in at fullback is right there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's insane. I don't know if Coach Signetti's watching, but man, you could turn to him and offer a D1 scholarship.
There ain't no doubt about it. He should be playing football and baseball at IU.
Yeah.
And we've been saying that all year, ever since we've seen these guys early on against Warren Central and Landon Fry. I believe had 2 picks in that game, right, Tim?
Yep.
In the Dub C game.
Yep.
And I agree with you, Hunter, 100%. In my mind, he's a Division I linebacker. I know he is a baseball player as well, but he is just awesome. Now, okay, Hunter, take us through.
Yeah, this catch and throw, beautiful.
We'll do this one in real time. Then we'll go to your slow-mo one.
Yeah, it was probably the most tremendous catch I've seen all year. Just Jarvis jumping up on that far side in double coverage. I saw Vance put that ball up, and I was like, uh-oh. And then Jarvis came down with it and even gets his foot in to make that catch. And that literally sealed the deal for Snyder. I believe there was like 8 minutes left. Snyder got the ball back and literally just chewed the clock the whole rest of the game. But, man, you see the celebration there from the Snyder sideline and all the players on the field. It was insanity.
And there is literally no room between the end zone, almost no room between the end zone and that track. That was about as gutsy of a catch as a high school receiver could make.
Yeah, I mean, I even showed the slow-mo like on the live broadcast too, and I was just like, he did it. He got his foot down. Like it wasn't
not only the catch. I mean, that throw is perfect. By Aaron Vance. No one else can catch that ball besides his wide receiver in Jarvis, and right over the inside defender, right in front of the wow. And that's coming from the great route as well from Jarvis. That was coming from the inside slot as well, and then goes high points it. That's got to be right there up there with the play of the year, no doubt.
Oh, yeah. And to your point, Tim, if that's 1 yard further, he's out of bounds. He's running out of real estate. I mean, that is a beautiful throw.
And if it's 1 yard shorter, it could have been picked.
Yep.
I mean, that's great throw by Vance. Great concentration by Jarvis. That was outstanding on both ways.
Boy, great blocking there. Good thing he got that off too, because number 99 was coming through the offensive line there looking for something.
Yeah, that
was an awesome game. That was the game-sealing touchdown there for Snyder. Also want to give a shout-out to Braylon Shaw, who is a senior. He got an interception there. It's on the highlight reel as well. But his first pick of the season, senior year, gets it in clutch time. I believe it was in the third quarter. Yep, there it is in the middle, right next to the Vance and Jarvis TD. Braylon Shaw with a good read here defensively. He just backs up here and just jumps the gut there. Intercept. It was a good read.
And it seems like Fertil is sure in the backfield a lot. He's more at that rush end position. Did you call out his name a bunch, number 4?
Yeah. He had a tremendous game too as well. Kind of came from that position as you mentioned, but yeah, he was a tremendous player there on the field as well for Snyder defensively. And like I said, just a big defensive battle between the two, and it was an awesome game to see on Friday night. 14-7 win for Snyder. Like I said, it was just defensive.
You know, and I couldn't find stats for that game. Got the media guide for the Carroll game, but Vance, over 100 yards passing, do you think? I mean, were they mostly run dominant in that one, Hunter?
Yeah, they used Braylon Burton and Davis quite a bit. They ran the ball with them quite a bit. But yeah, I would say he threw the ball. I couldn't give you a time off the top of my head. It maybe was 5, 6, 7 times somewhere in there. But it was a lot of runs. Wow,
and Fideli, man, he ended up throwing for 194 yards, nearly 50%. So, yeah, good win there for Snyder, man. Elkhart number 6 in the state, 6A, and the Panthers go up there. And Tim actually talked to those guys a week earlier, and they were pretty confident heading in. Yep. And I think we all just need to say a prayer before we go to bed tonight that Brandon Logan's going to be okay, because we would like to see Snyder be 100% heading into the rematch at Carroll on Friday. And we can talk more about that. Let's go over to Thad Goff, who was over at Northside for the Concord game. Of course, Concord, the number 1 ranked team in the state. And the Legends, holy smokes, they pulled within 7 points. I think that was in the 3rd quarter. And you had a late one there. What time did you get out of Chambers Field? About 11 p.m.?
I think it was about 10:30, somewhere around there. Yeah, we were there pretty late. Concord actually had to take 2 knees with 39 seconds on the clock. That's another story though. But this Concord team, you know, they were battle tested going into the game. They had won the toughest games on their schedule. They had beaten Elkhart, first game of the season. They had beaten Warsaw. They had beaten Mishawaka. And those Warsaw and Mishawaka games, those were very close games. So this is a Concord team that was battle tested. I mean, having a team battle with them up to the 4th quarter was nothing new for the Minutemen. But early on in the ball game, Concord really hit Northside with their running game. You know, they had Jaron Thomas, the 1,000-yard rusher, coming in, but they also showed that they could bring in the zone read quarterback. Bo Brunner, he got the first 2 Concord touchdowns via the zone read in that game. And on the first drive, that was set up because of good running by Jaron Thomas. And there's just a little example of something else I was going to mention. Jaron Thomas was all over the place defensively, too. I don't know exactly how many tackles he had around the line of scrimmage, but he was frequently around the line of scrimmage running down. It was usually Caleb Kingley running the football, but also Tristan Newsom running it as well. But Thomas was all over the field running on defense for the Minutemen, as he was extremely effective in the running game too. 23 carries, 163 yards, 2 second-half touchdowns that essentially helped to, not quite seal the game, but essentially helped Concord to pull away.
Yeah, most definitely. And you saw there 14 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss. Holy cow. I thought he was one of the best players in the state because he was a good running back, but obviously he is a standout linebacker as well. We'll see this play here again with Tristan Newsom. But Thad, Caleb Kingley, geez, man, look at that close right there.
Yeah, that
was incredible.
And
he was doing a lot of that.
Yeah, he's flying like he's Superman here.
Right past a bigger man than himself.
Yeah, that is impressive. You know, Concord, Jaron Thomas, maybe he could have went to Elkhart. Concord's right in that area as well. So, but
right
yeah,
in that town.
Caleb had a really good game for Northside. Look at that, averaging 10.4 yards per carry, 15 for 156. He just had a hard time getting in the end zone, or what was going on with that, Thad?
Well, I think that they just took a while to get him going. In the second half, we started to see Kingley rip off a couple of big runs, and also it wasn't just the big plays, although there was plenty of that to go around. He started finding room, putting his head down and fighting through those tacklers like you see on that replay right there. But it just took him a while to get going. He finally did get going in the second half. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough for Northside to come back and win the game. They had some they had some miscues at several points in the ball game, although Kingley was a big reason why they were able to stay in the game.
Yeah, most definitely. Looking at the stats, talk about Tristan Newsome in that game. Looks like 19 of 22 passing, 222 yards. So then all 3 incompletions were interceptions?
Well, three of the 4 were interceptions. And a lot of those interceptions were largely the reason for those was just throwing into traffic. A lot of times you may see a young quarterback just try to make a play, and you want to give him credit for that. But a lot of those throws were just into heavy traffic, hard balls to complete. And there were a couple of them where one was Northside caught a break because Concord was flagged for pass interference. Another one actually was one of the touchdowns. A player from Concord decided to swat the ball up in the air, almost volleyball style, and Malik Moore camped right underneath it and made the catch for the touchdown. But Tristan Newsome, we saw him get outside the pocket. We know he can run the football. We know he can make a lot of different throws. It's just trying to throw the ball into traffic, and you want to give him credit for not giving up on the play, but there were certain situations where you just watch the game and you go, oh gosh, might have been worth throwing the ball away there. Just threw the ball into traffic, and now Concord's got the ball back.
Wow, though, 19 completions. I'm sure that's a season high. Talk about Rashawn James. I don't even recognize his name, but it seemed like he was probably the MVP for Northside on this night.
Yeah, Rashawn James was used in wildcat situations. He made some big plays on defense, like you'll see this one here. The touchdown didn't count, but the interception did. They just kind of worked him into the offense, and I think worked him into the defense as well. And when Rashawn was in the game, he made plenty of plays, although I will say that there was a number 23 on Northside's roster. James was not listed there, so I had to get a little help from the guys in the press box saying, oh, no, that's Rashawn James. But it was, and he made a good deal of plays in that game.
Yeah, and I saw where he had an interception for a touchdown, so let me pull that one up so that we can show everybody.
Yeah, that was a long play.
Talk about so James Early was ejected. At what point was that in the game?
I believe that was the third quarter when he got ejected. I don't know exactly what happened there. I don't know if it was too unsportsmanlike or if it was some kind of egregious unsportsmanlike that just got him tossed from the game. But all I know is the officials gave the ejection signal, and then there was James Early walking through the tunnel to the locker room. And his night was done, and unfortunately, his high school career is done. Now, obviously, he's committed to Cincinnati. He's a heck of a defensive lineman. I'm sure he'll make a huge impact with the Bearcats.
Definitely.
But like I said, I don't know what happened, whether it was egregious unsportsmanlike or just two unsportsmanlikes, and the second one got him out. But I do know that he was ejected from the game, and certainly wish him the best going forward, but hate that his high school career ended that way.
Do you think that played any role? Because I remember you saying that, and then next thing you know, Northside pulled within 7. Were they missing him out there, or was Concord just a little bit too much on this night?
I think they were missing him a little bit, but ultimately I think Concord was just a little bit too much, because part of it is because they've been so battle tested. This is a team that knows how to win. You just look at the teams they've beat, look at the close games they won. It's a team that is plenty capable of getting the job done. And I think Northside gave a good effort, but ultimately Concord was just a little bit too much to handle.
Yeah. Wow, it's hard to imagine that all of these cards they're putting these scores in by hand. I would figure that would be auto-populated, but another shout out to John Harrell, who's just probably the hardest worker in the state of Indiana. Man, they got to manually put those in. Well, let's look ahead. We'll start off with Tim and myself. We're going to Dwenger for Bishop Dwenger and East Noble. East Noble ranked number 2 in Class 4A, the final poll, and the Saints not ranked at all. I think at the beginning of the season, they were somewhere in the top 10, but, ever since the first loss, which I think a loss against Brownsburg in your 4A school shouldn't have that much of a hurt on you.
Right.
Teams being penalized for strength of schedule is not always very cool at all. So, but yeah, they're nowhere to be found here in the 17, but we definitely believe that they're a top 10 team in Class 4A. Let's start off with you, Tim. What are you thinking about this matchup?
Yeah, they definitely, to go on your point, they're definitely top 5 defensively team in 4A. There's no question about that. But yeah, I mean, when you start off Brownsburg and Cincinnati Moeller, the all boys Christian Catholic powerhouse out of Cincinnati, it's a tough way to start. They played really well in that first half against Moeller. Got away from them in that second half, just sheer size and numbers eventually wore them down. But Bishop Dwenger, ever since that, even in that Snyder loss, but getting that win in the Battle of the Bishops against Lures, I think propelled them the rest of the way. The Snyder loss, they expected Jordan to be there for quarterback. O'Keefe did have to start it. He made a couple of plays that he'd love to have back that I haven't seen him make in these past several weeks. And I'm telling you, the run game of Bishop Dwenger is so dialed in right now. It's what we talked about with their defense against Columbia City, how dialed in they were. This is a team that's playing as well as anybody I've seen on both sides of the football all year long. That includes East Noble. East Noble has that difference though that Dwenger has not seen in the playoffs, and that's being able to throw the ball. Dwenger is going to have to be able to cover the pass in this game, and they haven't had to do that in the first 2 weeks of sectional number 19. So I think the throwing of Riley Biddle to his outstanding wide receiving core will be the difference in this game. If Dwenger can shut that down, I think they have a great chance. If they cannot shut down any passing from Riley Biddle, I think it'll be a long night for the Saints.
Yeah, and talking with Coach Stewart, Biddle was the key in those matchups against Leo because of how stout that defensive front 7 is for the Lions. And, with Dwenger, you can add a little bit more depth to that defensive front 7. Very similar, and you might even want to tip your cap to Bishop Dwenger on having the edge there. But Tim, how about this? Dwenger had 3 guys run the ball against Snyder the first time around, and now it seems like they go about 6 or 8 deep in the backfield. And that seems like that's a huge difference maker.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, when you have AJ Shefferly's getting the ball more, he's getting more touches, and his lead blocking ability is tremendous. It's right up there with Landon Fry for Snyder on the lead blocking. And then with Knipscher, Pelkington, and the sophomore Jordan Fabini, you have very strong kids that Bishop Dwenger has no problem. Offensive coordinator Akeem Kelsaw and, of course, head coach Jason Garrett have no issues at all going to those lead backs to get 2, 3, 4 yards. If you can churn out 2, 3, 4 yards, you're always playing ahead of the sticks, which takes that pressure off of your sophomore quarterback in Nick O'Keefe. He's capable of running the ball as well. And then you added Dougie Henry into the mix as well, running the ball over the past 3 weeks. So, yeah, they come at you with 4, 5, sometimes 6 different runners if you're including O'Keefe. And I still think that it's the strength on strength is going to be the key. I really like Carter Zent and Brady O'Keefe in that defensive backfield, and Jackson Parrish played a really good game against Wayne, but that was more coming up in a run stop, not as much as a pass protection type of defense. So that's going to be the key for me, Jeff, is Biddle and his ability to throw the ball. And if Dwenger can stop them, limit their possession time, Dwenger has as good a chance as anybody of beating East Noble because there hasn't been many teams to beat the Knights from up there in Kendallville.
And welcome, Jaron Matheny. Yeah, absolutely, Tim. When you talk about the extra runners in the backfield, also Andrew Tryon has to just be a
Yes.
huge addition for him, especially knowing that they can put him at defensive tackle, at nose, whatever.
Yeah, he blows it up defensively. You know, I think naturally he's an offensive lineman, but he can play that defensive tackle at nose pretty well, and he's very strong, very, very strong. But the health, I mean, we talked to Coach Garrett a couple of times this year. He's always talked about the health of the offensive line. Once we can get the full offensive line health back, there is some big boys up there, you know, with Drew Stauffer and Trine and those players. It is, you know, it's a difference maker with Trine on the field. There's no question about it. And I think rushing the ball and the defensive ability to stop the run forces East Noble to do something. You know, they want to be a balanced offense. They want to, you know, they can throw on 1st and 10 or they can run on 1st and 10. They like to switch that up. But against Dwenger's defense, you got to be careful, and then you always got to give the special teams edge to Dwenger with their punt schemes, their kickoff return schemes, and their kickoff game with Wynn putting it in the end zone for touchbacks, and then of course his outstanding leg 11 for 11 on the season. So, you know, the edge probably offensively you give it to East Noble, defensively you get to Dwenger, special teams to Dwenger, but that offensive throwing ability of Riley Biddle to his wide receivers, that is the thing. I know Coach Garrett and Coach Nepper, the defensive coordinator there for Bishop Dwenger, are going to have a couple sleepless nights leading up to Friday's game against Shields Field.
Yeah, Biddle is the team's punter, averaging 36 yards per punt, 9 inside the 20. He did have a punt that was downed at the 1 yard line in that Leo game, which was a great play. Sprague, 71 kickoffs, 13 touchbacks. So absolutely, maybe some opportunities to get some kickoff returns there. So yeah, going to be a fun one over there at Shields Field for sure. Hunter, you got a big game, and this one's kind of cool for Hunter and Landon because Landon graduated, Traylor graduated from Carroll, Hunter graduated from Snyder. They're going to combine and be on the call at Carroll for the Snyder game.
The rivalry in the booth.
Yeah, you guys will be sitting right next to Rumpy and Coach Griffith over there, Shannon Griffith. They'll have the call for 1380. But tell us about this one, Hunter. How excited are you?
Man, I am fired up. I haven't seen Carroll yet this year, but I tell you what, I've been wanting to do a Carroll game all year, and now I get the opportunity to do it. Seeing Jimmy Sullivan and that Nate Starks, and then there's the huge defense there for Carroll. I think it'll be a fun matchup there out at Carroll. I know the environment's going to be crazy, but Jimmy Sullivan, he only went 5 for 7 for 72 yards. I think me and Landon had a discussion after that game. I think he only played the first half there in that one. Nate Starks didn't get too many carries as well, but you see Jeffries and Green carrying the backfield, and Carroll only throwing the ball 11 times in that game and then running it 44 times. So just to see what their game plan is leading up to against Snyder. I know Snyder stopped the run there against Elkhart, so we'll see what Coach Dinan has in store there on his side of things. But as long as Jimmy Sullivan is healthy, Brandon Logan's healthy, I think it'll be a fun matchup there out at Carroll.
Wow, look at Jeffries here. 20 carries, 176 yards, 3 touchdowns. Green, 16 carries, 175 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, they had no problem behind Abs and that strong offensive line, racking up yardage as a team, averaging 9 yards per carry. So that's just outstanding right there. What does Snyder need to do differently in this one, Hunter? First time out, I think a lot of people are kind of shocked that Carroll handed the Panthers a 30-6 L.
Yeah, I was very, very shocked too on that one. But I think what I saw from Snyder's defense last week, if they can keep that defense rolling, Landon Fry, Adam Bleakey, you talk about Calabodi, Fertil, and hopefully Logan's healthy. Those 5 right there have got to be on their A game. I think the whole Snyder defense has to be on their A game. And then obviously Jimmy Sullivan is not afraid to throw the ball. So Snyder will have to have a strong defensive game in order to keep close into this one.
Yeah, and if you remember back to that first matchup, it was all about Jimmy and his legs, what he was able to get done on the ground. Let's take a look back here. Yeah, Sullivan had 20 rushing attempts, 94 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 3 touchdowns passing, 10 of 25. So maybe not his best performance as far as completion percentage goes, but the number one number is 0 interceptions and 3 touchdowns. So that bodes well for Carroll for sure. And we're glad to see that he's out there and playing. He's playing through pain, but
Right.
I don't know. In all the years I've covered football, I mean, Jimmy Sullivan is as tough as it gets. Not only as from a quarterback standpoint, but just a football player. I mean, Iowa is getting a good player right here, all the way around. His cerebral, his mental, his strength, his skill set on the field. And did you guys know I didn't get to watch the game or listen to the Iowa game last weekend, but they got a junior quarterback whose last name is Sullivan.
Sullivan, yeah, and he's a runner. He has tremendous speed. I watched some of that game, and it was like Wisconsin, yeah, they run a lot of read. They run a lot of stuff that Carroll's running with their read option, their RPOs, and that's what the commentators kept talking about Sullivan at Iowa. The quarterback there now, Sullivan, is that he's keeping the defense on their toes or on their heels because he can pull that out so well and with his speed run it. So there's definitely a method to the madness out there at Iowa. And they're going to have another Sullivan. I believe that Sullivan's a junior.
Yep.
But yeah, you could have a starter as a Sullivan and your backup, or maybe number 3 as a Sullivan too. That's pretty hilarious in my opinion. But yeah, the same games. They have pretty much the same games with being able to run the ball and throw it with pretty good accuracy.
Hawkeyes 6-3. And who knows? Maybe have a situation where Jimmy can get redshirted and have a year to learn under Brendan and then be a 4-year starter or something. But that'll be fun to keep an eye out on.
Yeah, like a Leaper. Leaper went there from Homestead, redshirt his freshman year. Yep, yeah, there's nothing wrong with redshirting. You get still get to practice. You get all those reps in practice. You're still in the a big time college environment with your meal preps and your weight training and that sort of thing, which obviously will help. But the key with Carroll, we know about the non-throwing hand injury of Jimmy. It's, can he hold on to the ball while he's running? Is he going to strictly have to hold it with his right hand? Can he switch hands? If he's running out to the left side of the field and he's got that ball on his right side, that's a recipe for a strip. And that Braylon Fertill and Landon Fry and Brandon Logan, Adam Blake, they're coming with the intentions of turning you over.
Yes.
That's something to watch for come this Friday is how strong Jimmy is handling the ball when he's running it.
Yeah, I was going to say I saw it a lot on Friday against Elkhart where Landon Fry and Adam Bleakey would get there and they would just hold the guy up and somebody would come in ready to hit the ball away. But obviously both Jimmy Sullivan and Brandon Logan both battling injuries. But I mean, it was very, very not very surprising to see what Brandon Logan wanted to do. He wanted to play in that football game against Elkhart. He knew he wanted to be on the field. Like I said, he went out with the injury at halftime and came out and played 3 more plays and then ended up hobbling off. So hopefully he's going to be a little bit healthy there and be able to play. But both those two seniors, both going to big D1 schools, they both want to continue to play and keep leading their team to success in the sectional championship on Friday.
Most definitely. And Tim, if Jimmy's got to be relegated to more of a facilitator role, it's nice to see what Jeffries has done the last 2 weeks.
And Green.
Green.
Jeffries and Green. Yeah, the backfield we talked about Dwenger's backfield and all their tremendous backs. I mean, Carroll that's outstanding with those 3 and Starks and Jeffries and Green. That's very impressive. And you got to give a lot of credit to that offensive line for Carroll, though. There's some big boys. They got a D1 player in Caden Abs. So, they are a very, very tough squad. No question about it. Friday night's game, that game and the one at Dwenger that we're at, it's, maybe we'll switch crews at halftime and it's only a couple miles away. We'll just make a quick drive now. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
you guys both went to Dwenger. Me and Landon Carroll Snyder. So I mean, one of us might have to switch on Friday depending on what the score is at halftime.
Well, I'm not sure if I missed something. I don't think Thad went to West Noble, but we're going to send Thad out there anyways this Friday for the big rematch. Garrett and West Noble, first time around in the nasty weather. It was Garrett winning it 17-6. And you can see both these guys just kind of dominate here in the postseason with what they've been able to do to get back to this sectional championship game. West Noble has never won a sectional championship.
Whoa.
Yeah, which is crazy to think with the success they've had under Coach Maywarder, 10-1, 8-3, 4-6 and 21. But I mean, 10-1 right here. So you have your ebbs and flows, as all teams do. But many think that this is the year because West Noble doesn't have Knox in their sectional, but they got to take on a Garrett team that, man, from the get-go, Garrett has just been awesome this year, beating Adams Central 20-7, coming out the gates. Look what Adams Central done since then, averaging 36.3 points per game, and they held them to 7 points. So this is a strong Garrett team. And I did see Coach Depew at church yesterday in Garrett, so I know that he's praying for the dub here and getting his first sectional championship since I believe it was that 2015 season when they got knocked off by Concordia. But Thad, your research early on here, what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, my research shows that this is looking like kind of an old school run the ball kind of game. Garrett, they run that it's like a combination of the flex bone and the wing tee. They got a strong couple of guys who can run the football. They got Cam Rubel, 1,000-yard rusher. Calder Hefty, the quarterback, he can run it as well. They got a sophomore, Alex Guzman, who I think Coach Depew has described as being a more speedy back. But West Noble, they can run it just as well. Estel Pruitt, 1,751 yards. Gives you an idea of what they're doing over there at West Noble. They're running it, and they're running it a lot. And then you also bring in Fernando Macias, 10.3 yards per carry. Dustin Richardson, 10.1 yards per carry. The quarterback, Trey Schisler, just 884 yards, averages 80.4 yards per game. Quarterback Calder Hefty for Garrett averages just 69.5 yards per game. So this is looking like a ground and pound. Well, maybe not. Well, we'll go with that ground and pound type of football game from both the Railroaders and the Chargers. And West Noble, obviously, they got a lot on the line, trying to win their first ever sectional championship. Garrett, they carried a lot of momentum from last year when they upset Heritage in that sectional semifinal. But I think they've got a bad taste in their mouth too, because they got to the sectional championship and they lost. So Coach Depew and those guys, I guarantee you, they're thinking, boys, we got some unfinished business to deal with here. We got to the sectional championship. We got beat here. This is where our season ended. This isn't where we wanted it to end. Let's keep this thing going. So I think they're going to be playing with some bad blood, even though they beat West Noble earlier this year. But they're going to be playing with some bad blood, and they're going to look to take it out on West Noble. Now, obviously, West Noble, they've got the bad blood from losing that regular season game to Garrett earlier this year, and on their home field, no less. So I think both teams are going to come out tough, come out angry, come out trying to hit each other in the mouth, is what this game has the feel of.
Yeah, look at Seth Pruitt here. I believe now he's the program's all-time leading rusher, having passed his brother Brandon. But I mean, these numbers are just amazing, and this is what he's been doing ever since his sophomore year. But Garrett held him for just 39 yards, 2.4 yards per carry. I'm sure that's something that burns inside of him, because I don't know that that's really ever happened throughout his career. If we look at Seth's junior year, 2.4 against Garrett, or is that this year?
That would be this year.
All right. Well, it looks like it's not going to click over for me. But well, yeah, once again, the point is that never happens. You can see right there with the stats 4,795 career yards. And check this out, everybody 74 career touchdowns.
Yeah,
I mean, these guys, it's something else right there, what they can do with Seth Pruitt. So this will be a fun one to watch because I don't know that Garrett's going to be able to hold him to 2.4 yards per carry this time around.
Probably not. I do think the offensive line for West Noble, they remember what happened when Garrett came to Ligonier last time around, and they're going to be looking to make sure that they can keep those railroader big guys, those D linemen, those linebackers at bay all night long. But like I said, I think this is going to be one of those games where everybody's looking to hit each other in the mouth and run the ball right down their throats, come right up to the line of scrimmage and make the plays.
Yeah, Calder Hefty, one of the better two-way players in the area. Cam Rubel, as you had mentioned, the big senior running back. But going back over here to West Noble, they threw the ball 22 times in game number 1. So that just kind of shows you that Garrett was going to load the box and they were not going to let Seth get going. And that's exactly what they did because, Schisler does not throw the ball 22 times a game. That's not the norm for him. Let's look at it throughout 9, 5, 6, 6, 6, 6. So the only other game where he had double-digit passing was a 58-0 Cherubusco dub. And I got to believe that's just because they knew they had the game in the bag and wanted to try a few new things. So it's going to be a fun one out there, Thad.
Yeah, it sure will.
We'll be paying attention to Group Me so you can give us the updates.
All right. Yeah, I'll make sure to keep you guys posted.
Okay, we appreciate that, buddy. And then lastly, Jaron, who sacrifices so much on Friday nights covering Indiana Tech volleyball for us. And we really appreciate that, Jaron, especially when your alma mater, the Huntington North Vikings, are having a heck of a season here, 8-3. And when the sectional came out, we were thinking, well, Culver and Lebanon is in the same side of the bracket here. We're kind of thinking that Huntington North could play for a sectional championship, and here you go. The Vikings 8-3 going to take on Lebanon. And man, that's a long drive. That's like a 2-hour drive, isn't it, Darren?
Yeah, 2-hour drive from Huntington. So yeah, it'll be. I believe it's going to be a 7:30 start on Friday as opposed to 7 p.m. because of the distance. But this is a year to remember for Huntington North, and they finished in 4th place in the Northeast State. So that just tells you how good the conference was this year as well. The only common opponent between Lebanon and Huntington North is actually Frankfurt. And Frankfurt went 0-10 this year, so I don't know how much you can really gather from that game. Both teams with decisive victories, but I was really impressed this past week with the way that Huntington North won against Marion. Got off to a little bit of a slower start, but they spread the football out, and Lebanon wants to spread the football out. So unlike Thad's game, I think we're going to be there a little bit longer probably because there's going to be a lot of passing in this one, but it still should be fun. And there's an excitement, Huntington, about Viking football that just has not been here for a long time. And part of that is they haven't won a sectional since 1993. And in that, too, you're not facing Homestead and Snyder in the sectional every year. So it feels like you actually got a chance to compete in the postseason. So Coach Eschbach's done a really good job just 2 years in of turning this program into something that people here are really proud of.
Right.
Yeah, and they're obviously serious about their football over there because they don't share stats or nothing. You got, I don't get them in the emails. You get updates for everything for Huntington North. Tennis. I mean, honestly, they do the best job outside of Carroll on informing the media what's going on with their athletic department. But mom is the word when it comes to football. And you're right, 1993. Have they ever won a regional championship?
I don't believe so. So I think that would be a first time sort of deal. So it's unprecedented for Huntington North. But again, you go back and I was talking with Nick Altman, the radio teacher there. He's like, yeah, when you don't play Homestead and you don't play Snyder in sectional every year, it makes a big difference. So it has been a remarkable season, and Marcus Linker, give him his props because he does a really nice job. And Wyatt Shears had a nice year, and you just leave it up and see, because I don't know a ton about Lebanon coming in outside of the fact that they do want to throw the football, and their quarterback's got just a little bit under 2,000 yards passing this season. So,
and how good has Tony Decker been?
He's been awesome, and I think that's a big difference with Huntington North this year and last year with this offense than in years past. I think in years past, Decker may have gotten put at a receiver position just so you could use him in the flex bone sort of and let him run on the outside and everything. But now that they're slinging the football around, you want to have that number one athlete at quarterback, and they do have that, I think, with Decker, and he's got some nice options on the outside with Tatum Brooks included at receiver.
Yeah, because he's a great defensive back for Huntington North as well. And Huntington North had 5 interceptions in that win against Frankfurt. What about, have you seen stats from the Marion game?
I have not seen stats from the Marion game yet. I've got a couple inside sources, so hopefully I can get my hands on some. But I from what I remember watching on the highlight zone was they didn't get off to a great start and then kind of found their way in the second half. So good to see against Marion, because Marion beat Southside this year, and Southside was competitive with pretty much everybody they played against in 4A. So I think that is a good barometer for Huntington North to pull out that big of a win.
Yeah, and Coach Esbach, he's awesome. I mean, you email him, he'll get you the stats, but they're just not going to willy-nilly throw them out there for anybody, which is what it is, I guess. But it really helps us when the stats are on Max Preps, and that's in all the sports. So, well, guys, any other last comments here before we all start game planning and getting ready, preparing for our games on Friday?
No, I'm good. It's sectional finals is always has another little edge to it when you walk into the stadium every Friday night for that sectional final. We got great games all around the place. You guys have done a great job this year calling your games. Keep up the good work, and we'll bring it to the people this Friday. But of course, people out there, get out to the local stadiums. You want to get out there. You want to see the games in person. We're a secondary for that. So if you can't get out there, of course, join us. And of course, all of the games are on through the IHSA TV. They're through the Champions Network. None of it will be on YouTube. You got to go through the app. You can download it to your smartphone or to your smart TV and watch everything right there.
Yeah,
definitely. Free this weekend too. So make sure
still free. It'll be free next week as well. Not till semi-state.
Oh, speaking of semi-state, Jaron was at Huntington North on Saturday, and the Carroll Chargers are heading to state, having beat Hamilton Southeastern. Shout out to the Chargers. Jaron, what was that day like?
Crazy, because in the morning, Carroll and Crown Point played, and the first set was pretty close, but then in sets 2 and 3, you could tell that Carroll was just the better team. And then Hamilton Southeastern took care of Penn pretty easily. So you just thought, Hamilton Southeastern had won back-to-back state titles. They were the 2-time defending state champs. So you figured that they had an edge against Carroll, and they played this year, and Hamilton Southeastern won pretty handedly, and not on Saturday. There's just something different about the Chargers on Saturday, and Bailey Sinesh is awesome, and Lola Sassy in the second set played one of the best sets of volleyball I've seen so far this year. She was incredible. And they're so young still. Chloe Hirschberger is the only senior for Carroll. So that group's not going anywhere. And it's a tough test with Yorktown, another perennial power. But really, really cool to see. And then shout out Angola as well, because they'll be at state in 3A.
Yeah, and their Carroll's JV team went 24-0.
Yeah.
Also got to give props to the Concordia boys soccer squad.
Yes.
That they made it to state. They did fall short in state, but an outstanding year by those cadets from Concordia. Congratulations to them out there.
Most definitely. All right, folks. Well, thanks for joining us. We had Thad Goff, Jaron Matheny, Hunter Sosenheimer, and Tim Atkinson. I'm Jeff Mahoney. Until next time, get out to a game this Friday. Come out to Shields Field. Go out to Carroll. Make the drive to West Noble. West Noble, it's special. The football field sits up on a hill. When the guys get in trouble, they have to run up and down those hills. So, it's not too hard to get to that gate. You might be huffing and puffing a little bit, but it's beautiful. It'd be a lot of fun. And if you can spend the 2 hours to get out to Lebanon, if not, Jaron will have the call for you. I know Lebanon, it looks like they use Huddle Focus, a combination of that and their radio guy, but Jaron will get you right for sure. So thanks.
We'll be ready to go. We'll be ready to go, Jeff.
Have a great night, everyone.
See everyone.
See ya.